6 years ago, she vanished without a word, leaving him to build an empire from heartbreak. Today, at JFK Airport, billionaire Liam Sterling sees her again with twin boys, who have his exact eyes. But the real shock? She didn't leave him. She was running from a killer. And now that killer knows she's back. The rain had stopped falling on Manhattan that morning, but Liam Sterling hadn't noticed. He never noticed weather anymore. Not since the morning 6 years ago, when Seraphina Vance vanished from his penthouse, like smoke dissolving into air. The CEO of Nexus Innovations sat in his corner office on the 57th floor, watching the city sprawl beneath him with eyes that had forgotten how to see beauty. At 34, he commanded an empire worth billions, but the victory tasted like ash in his mouth. His reflection in the floor-to-ceiling windows showed a man carved from ice and ambition. The gentle curve that once softened his jawline when he smiled had hardened into something cruel. Trust, he had learned, was the most expensive commodity in the world, and 6 years ago, he had paid its price in full. One night, one perfect, devastating night that had cost him everything he thought he knew about human connection. His empire had been built on a single principle since then. Never show weakness. The heart was weakness. And Liam Sterling would never make that mistake again. The boardroom at Nexus Innovations hummed with the particular tension that preceded corporate executions. Liam sat at the head of the mahogany table, his fingers steepled as he watched Marcus Chen, CEO of a struggling tech startup, plead for mercy. The man's company was drowning, and Liam held the life preserver. But mercy had been surgically removed from his vocabulary years ago. "Please, Mr. Sterling." Marcus's voice cracked like thin ice. "We just need 3 more months. My employees, they have families, children, who depend on—" "Your employees should have chosen a more competent leader," Liam interrupted, his voice as smooth and cold as polished marble. "Your company's patents are worth $43 million. I'm offering 15. The offer expires in 30 seconds. Elias Crawford, Liam's executive assistant, shifted uncomfortably in his seat. He had worked for Liam for 4 years, watching the man systematically destroy competitors with the precision of a surgeon removing tumors. There was admiration in Elias's eyes, certainly, but also something else. Fear, perhaps. Or pity. It was hard to tell which was worse. 20 seconds, Liam said, checking his Patek Philippe without actually needing to see the time. Marcus's shoulders sagged in defeat. "Fine. 15 million. 14, Liam corrected. The price of hesitation. As Marcus signed the papers with trembling hands, Liam felt nothing. No satisfaction, no guilt, just the familiar emptiness that had become his constant companion. He had transformed personal pain into professional ruthlessness, with the efficiency that made him legendary in Silicon Valley. The scar tissue around his heart had become armor, and armor, he had learned, was essential for survival. 2 days later, John F. Kennedy International Airport buzzed with its usual chaos of reunions and farewells. Liam moved through the crowd like a blade through silk, his presence creating a natural clearing as people instinctively stepped aside. He was heading to Tokyo for another acquisition, another company to consume, another victory that would mean nothing. Then he saw her. The world didn't stop. That only happened in movies. Instead, it tilted violently, like a ship hitting an unexpected wave. Seraphina Vance stood near the departure gates, her honey-colored hair shorter now, her face thinner, shadows beneath eyes that had once sparkled like champagne. She was wearing a simple navy dress, nothing like the designer clothes he had imagined buying for her all those years ago when he had been foolish enough to plan a future. Rage, cold and pure, as liquid nitrogen, flooded his veins. Not joy, not relief, rage. The deceiver. The ghost who had haunted 6 years of sleepless nights. She was real, and she was here. And every carefully constructed wall around his emotions threatened to crumble. He moved toward her with the deliberate pace of a predator who had finally cornered his prey. She hadn't seen him yet, her attention focused on something to her left. No, not something. Someone. 2 someones. The rage froze mid-surge, crystallizing into something else entirely. 2 boys, perhaps 5 years old, stood beside her. Mirror images of each other, with dark hair that fell across their foreheads in a familiar way, the shape of their faces, the set of their shoulders even at that young age, the way one of them tilted his head while listening to his mother speak. Logic collapsed. The carefully ordered universe Liam had constructed from spite and success crumbled like a house of cards in a hurricane. He stood there, 10 feet away, staring at the children at his children. His mind screamed, though he couldn't accept it, wouldn't accept it, while the airport continued its chaos around him. "Seraphina Vance," he said, his voice cutting through the ambient noise like a sword through paper. "I never thought I'd see a ghost in broad daylight." She turned, and the color drained from her face so quickly, he thought she might faint. Her hand instinctively moved to pull the boys closer, a protective gesture that told him everything and nothing all at once. "Liam," she breathed, the word barely audible. "Please." "Not here." He stepped closer, noting how she backed away, how the boys looked up at him with curious eyes, his eyes. God help him, they had his eyes. "Not here? You had 6 years to choose the venue, Seraphina, and you chose to bring your evidence to an airport?" "They're not evidence," she said, her voice finding strength in maternal instinct. "They're children." "Whose children?" The question came out sharper than intended, causing the smaller boy to press against his mother's leg. "Mommy," the boy said. "Who's the angry man?" The words hit Liam like a physical blow. The angry man. Was that what he had become? In the reflection of a child's innocent observation, he saw himself clearly for the first time in years. Not powerful, not successful, just angry. Seraphina knelt beside her sons, her voice gentle but firm. Luca, this is an old friend of Mommy's. Why don't you go sit on those chairs right there? I'll be just a minute." The boys obeyed, though not without suspicious backward glances. The one called Luca, the smaller one, had a slight pallor to his skin that Liam's trained eye caught immediately. Something wasn't right there. Something medical. "We need to talk," Liam said, his voice slightly less hostile but no less demanding. "No," Seraphina replied, standing. "We don't. You made your feelings clear 6 years ago when you didn't come after me, when you didn't even try to find me." The accusation was so unexpected, so completely contrary to his narrative of betrayal, that Liam actually stepped back. "You disappeared. You vanished without a word, without explanation. What was I supposed to think? You were supposed to trust that I had a reason." She shot back, her gray eyes flashing with an anger that matched his own. "You were supposed to believe that one perfect night meant as much to me as it did to you." Around them, travelers continued their journeys, oblivious to the drama unfolding. But for Liam and Seraphina, the airport had become an arena, and 6 years of unspoken words were the weapons. "Trust?" Liam laughed, the sound bitter as burnt coffee. "You want to talk about trust? Fine. Let's start with a simple question. Are those boys mine?" Seraphina's silence stretched between them like a taut wire. Finally, she spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. "Yes." The single word shattered something inside Liam. Not his anger that remained, burning cold and steady, but his certainty, his carefully constructed narrative of betrayal and abandonment, began to show cracks. "And you kept them from me." "It wasn't a question. I protected them," she corrected. "From a danger you couldn't have understood. Still can't understand. Try me." She looked over at the boys, then back at him, and he saw something in her eyes he hadn't expected. Fear. Not of him, but of something else. Something that made her shoulders tense and her hands tremble slightly. "Not here," she said again, but this time it was a plea rather than a refusal. "Please, Liam, if you ever felt anything for me, not in front of them." He wanted to refuse. Wanted to demand answers here and now. Wanted to rake her over the coals of his hurt and anger. But Luca chose that moment to cough, a wet, concerning sound that made Seraphina's head snap toward him immediately. "Mommy," Leo called out. "Luca needs his medicine." The fear in Seraphina's eyes intensified as she rushed to her sons, pulling a small inhaler from her purse. Liam followed, watching as she helped the boy with practiced efficiency. Luca's breathing was labored, his small chest working too hard for each breath. "What's wrong with him?" Liam asked. The CEO voice gone, replaced by something raw. "Congenital heart defect," Seraphina said quietly, rubbing Luca's back as his breathing slowly steadied. "He needs surgery, but I haven't been able to afford the right specialist." The words hung in the air between them. She hadn't been able to afford it. While he sat in his tower of glass and steel, commanding billions, his son, had been struggling to breathe. "We're going to miss our flight," Leo said, tugging on his mother's dress. "Where?" Liam demanded. "Back to Paris," Seraphina said, not meeting his eyes. "We were just here for a medical consultation." "It didn't go well. You're not getting on that plane." Her head snapped up, maternal fury blazing. "You don't get to tell me what to do. You don't get to waltz back into our lives and make demands." "I'm not waltzing anywhere," Liam said, pulling out his phone. "Elias? Clear my schedule for the next week." "No. I don't care about Tokyo. Handle it." He hung up and looked at Seraphina. "Now, we're going to talk. All of it. Every detail of the last 6 years. And then, we're going to get Luca the best cardiac surgeon in the country." "I don't want your money," she said, but her voice lacked conviction. "This isn't about money," Liam replied. "This is about the truth. You owe me that much." She wanted to refuse. He could see it in every line of her body. But Luca wheezed again, and her resistance crumbled. "Fine. But somewhere private. And safe." The way she said safe sent a chill down Liam's spine. This wasn't just about a secret pregnancy or hidden children. There was something else, something that had kept her running for 6 years. An hour later, they sat in a private room at Mount Sinai Hospital, where Liam had pulled strings to get Luca immediately examined by the head of pediatric cardiology. The boys were with a nurse, playing with tablets Liam had somehow procured within minutes of arriving. Money might not buy happiness, but it certainly purchased efficiency. "Start from the beginning," Liam said, sitting across from Seraphina in the stark white room. "The morning you left." She looked older, he realized. Not just 6 years older, but older in the way that came from carrying too much weight for too long. The sparkle he remembered had been replaced by a wariness that spoke of constant vigilance. "I went home that morning floating," she began, her voice soft with memory. "That night with you, it was everything I had dreamed it could be. You were different then. Softer. You laughed at my terrible jokes and told me about your plans to change the world with technology that would help people, not just make money." Liam remembered that version of himself, distant as a stranger now. "I got home at 7:43 in the morning," she continued. "I remember the exact time, because that's when my world ended. My father was on the floor, blood on his face, his arm bent at an unnatural angle. My mother was sobbing in the corner, and standing over them was Crispin Finch." The name meant nothing to Liam, but the way she said it, like pronouncing a curse, made him lean forward. "My father had made a deal with Finch," Seraphina explained. "He needed money for my mother's cancer treatments. The insurance had run out, and the experimental therapy was our only hope, so he borrowed from Finch. What he didn't know was that Finch wasn't just a loan shark. He was involved in money laundering, drug trafficking, things that would make your corporate takeovers look like playground games." She paused, lost in the memory. "My father discovered what Finch was really doing and tried to back out. But you don't back out of deals with Crispin Finch. That morning, he gave us a choice. Disappear completely, leave the country within 3 hours, never contact anyone from our old life, and he would let us live. Or stay and watch him destroy everything and everyone we cared about. Including me," Liam said, understanding beginning to dawn. "Especially you," Seraphina confirmed. "He knew about you. About that night. He had people watching. He said you were high profile, that hurting you would send a message to others who might think about crossing him. I had 3 hours to pack up my entire life and run. 3 hours to protect my parents and to protect you." "You could have told me," Liam said. But even as the words left his mouth, he knew how naive they sounded. Could I? She challenged. Hi, Liam. I know we just spent the most amazing night together, but I have to disappear forever because my father owes money to a psychopathic criminal who will kill you if I don't. Would you have believed me? Or would you have tried to fix it, to confront Finch, to use your money and influence to solve the problem? He didn't answer because they both knew the truth. The Liam of 6 years ago would have charged in like a knight in shining armor, and would have likely ended up dead for his troubles. We went to Paris, she continued. My mother had distant relatives there. I found out I was pregnant 2 months later. My mother died 8 months after that. The cancer finally won. My father blamed himself, drank himself to death within a year. And suddenly, I was alone in a foreign country with infant twins, one of whom needed constant medical attention. Why didn't you contact me then? Liam asked. After your parents were gone? Because Finch has a long memory and longer reach, she said simply. He made it clear that if we ever surfaced, if we ever tried to return to our old lives, the consequences would be swift and brutal. I couldn't risk it. Not with Leo and Luca depending on me, so you suffered alone. I survived, she corrected. I painted portraits for tourists, taught English lessons, did whatever I could to keep us afloat. Every centum went to Luca's medications and treatments. There were nights I didn't eat, so they could. Nights I stayed awake just to make sure Luca was still breathing. But we survived. Liam felt something inside him crack, the ice he had wrapped around his heart developing fissures. This woman hadn't betrayed him. She had protected him, sacrificed everything to keep him and their children safe. The consultation here, he said. Why risk coming back? Because Luca's condition is deteriorating, she admitted, tears finally breaking through her composure. The doctors in Paris said, there's a specialist here. Dr. Morrison, who has developed a new surgical technique. It was worth the risk. But she reviewed his case and said we needed to wait another year, that he wasn't strong enough yet. Another year, Liam. I don't know if he has another year. Liam stood abruptly, pulling out his phone. Elias? I need Dr. Richard Steinberg from Johns Hopkins here within the hour. I don't care what it costs. Charter a helicopter if you have to. What are you doing? Seraphina asked. What I should have been doing for the last 5 years, Liam replied. Taking care of my family. The word hung between them. Family. It felt foreign on his tongue, but right in a way that scared him. We're not your family, Seraphina said quietly. Too much has happened. Too much time has passed. Maybe, Liam conceded. But those boys are my sons. And that makes us something. Even if we haven't figured out what yet. A knock on the door interrupted them. Dr. Morrison entered with Luca's test results, her expression grave but not hopeless. The good news is that the condition is operable, she said. The bad news is that it needs to happen soon. Within the month, ideally. Do it, Liam said immediately. Mr. Sterling, I appreciate your enthusiasm, but there are protocols. Insurance considerations. I'll pay cash. Liam interrupted. Whatever it costs. Just save my son. The possessive pronoun slipped out without thought, but he didn't take it back. Dr. Morrison looked between them, understanding dawning. I'll start making arrangements, she said diplomatically. We'll need to run more tests, but I believe we can schedule surgery for next week. After she left, Seraphina stared at Liam. Just like that? You sweep in and solve everything with money? Would you prefer I let pride get in the way of Luca's health? He shot back. She deflated. No. Thank you. I've been doing this alone for so long. I don't know how to let someone else help. Well, learn, Liam said. But his tone had softened. Because Crispin Finch is about to discover what happens when you threaten my family. Fear flashed across her face. No, Liam, you can't. He's dangerous, connected. He has judges, police, politicians in his pocket. And I have something better, Liam replied, the cold smile returning to his face. I have unlimited resources and absolutely nothing to lose. The smile should have reassured her. Instead, it terrified her. because this wasn't the idealistic young entrepreneur she had fallen for 6 years ago. This was someone else. Someone forged in the fires of betrayal and loneliness. Someone potentially as dangerous as Finch himself. "Don't become a monster fighting monsters," she warned. "Too late," Liam replied. "But maybe I can be your monster instead of his." Over the next 3 days, Liam orchestrated a campaign that would have impressed Machiavelli. He moved Seraphina and the boys into his penthouse, a fortress of glass and steel with security that would make the White House envious. He assembled a team of investigators, forensic accountants, and lawyers, all tasked with one objective: destroy Crispin Finch, legally and completely. Elias worked 18-hour days, coordinating the intelligence gathering. They discovered that Finch had expanded his operations significantly over the last 6 years. But expansion meant exposure. He had made mistakes, left trails, trusted the wrong people. "He owns a shipping company," Elias reported on the 3rd night, spreading documents across Liam's dining table while Seraphina put the boys to bed. "It's a front for moving drugs from South America. But here's the interesting part: he's been skimming from his partners. The Colombians don't know it yet, but when they find out—" "Make sure they find out," Liam said coldly. "That could start a war," Elias warned. "Not our war," Liam clarified. "We're just providing information. What they do with it is their business." Seraphina emerged from the boys' room, catching the tail end of the conversation. "You're playing with fire. I'm playing to win," Liam corrected. "There's a difference." She sat down across from him, studying his face. "What happened to you, Liam? You were so different before." "You left," he said simply. "And I adapted. I didn't leave. I was forced out. The result was the same. I woke up alone, convinced I had been played for a fool. Do you know what that does to a man? To believe that the one perfect night of his life was just a con?" She reached across the table, hesitating before placing her hand over his. "It wasn't a con. It was real. Everything I felt that night was real." He stared at their joined hands, remembering another night, another touch. "Was it, Mom?" Leo's voice from the doorway interrupted them. The boy stood in dinosaur pajamas, rubbing his eyes. "I had a bad dream." Seraphina immediately went to him, but Leo's eyes were fixed on Liam. "Are you our dad?" the boy asked, with the devastating directness only children possess. The room fell silent. Seraphina looked mortified. Liam frozen. Finally, he stood and walked over to the boy, kneeling to his eye level. "Yes," he said simply, "I am." Leo considered this. "Why weren't you with us before?" "Because I didn't know about you," Liam answered honestly. "But I'm here now. Are you staying?" Liam looked up at Seraphina, then back at his son. "Yes. I'm staying." Leo nodded, apparently satisfied, and allowed his mother to lead him back to bed. When she returned, there were tears on her cheeks. "You didn't have to do that," she said. "Yes, I did," Liam replied. "They deserve to know, and I deserve the chance to be their father. Even if I don't deserve you." The admission hung between them, vulnerable and raw. For a moment, the CEO facade cracked completely, and she saw the man underneath, the one who had laughed at her jokes and dreamed of changing the world. Then his phone rang. "Elias, sir, we have a problem. Finch knows she's here. He's been calling her old contacts in Paris, making threats. And sir," he mentioned the boys. The crack in Liam's facade sealed itself with ice. "Double the security, and move up our timeline. I want everything ready for tomorrow night." "Tomorrow night?" Seraphina asked after he hung up. "The charity art auction at the Met," Liam explained. "Finch never misses it. He uses it to launder money through inflated art purchases. Tomorrow, we end this. It's too dangerous," she protested. "Everything about our lives has been dangerous," Liam countered. "At least now we're choosing the battlefield." The Metropolitan Museum of Art glowed like a jewel against the Manhattan night. Inside, the charity auction attracted the city's elite, their diamonds and deals glittering with equal intensity. Liam entered with Seraphina on his arm, her emergency purchase of an evening gown making her look like the queen he always knew she could be. They were bait, and they both knew it. Finch appeared within an hour, his silver hair slicked back, his tuxedo impeccable. He looked like any other wealthy patron, until you saw his eyes flat and dead as a shark's. He approached while Liam was deliberately engaged with another guest, sliding up to Seraphina with practiced ease. "Miss Vance," he said, his voice cultured and poisonous. "How lovely to see you again. And how are those beautiful boys? Leo and Luca, isn't it? Such unusual names." Seraphina's hand tightened on her champagne glass. "Stay away from them." "Of course," Finch smiled. "As long as you remember our arrangement, it would be tragic if something happened to them. Children are so fragile, especially ones with heart conditions." "Yes." Liam's voice cut in as he appeared at Seraphina's side. "Children are fragile, which is why threatening them is particularly unwise." Finch's eyes narrowed as he recognized Liam. "Mr. Sterling, I heard you'd taken an interest in Miss Vance. Old flame rekindled?" "Something like that," Liam replied. "Though I prefer to think of it as an investment in the future." "Investments can be risky," Finch warned. "Markets crash. Assets depreciate." "True," Liam agreed. "Which is why I've been diversifying. Did you know, for instance, that I've recently acquired significant interests in shipping, particularly companies that operate routes through Colombia?" Finch's face remained calm, but Liam caught the slight tension in his jaw. "In fact," Liam continued, "I've been having fascinating conversations with some of your business partners. They were very interested to learn about certain discrepancies in their shipments. Apparently, someone has been skimming off the top for years." "You're playing a dangerous game, boy," Finch said, dropping all pretense of civility. "I'm not playing at all," Liam replied. "I've already won. You see, while you were threatening children, I was buying your debts. All of them. Every loan, every mortgage, every line of credit. As of 3 o'clock this afternoon, I own you." Finch laughed, but it sounded forced. "Money can't buy everything, Sterling." "No," Liam agreed, "but it can buy your $100 million debt to the Medellin Group. Fascinating people, by the way. Very upset about the skimming. They're probably discussing it right now." For the first time, real fear flickered in Finch's eyes. "You don't know who you're messing with." "Neither did you," Liam said. "You threatened my family, my children. Did you really think I would let that stand?" He pulled out his phone, showing Finch a screen. "This is every illegal transaction you've made in the last decade. Every bribe, every shipment, every murder you ordered. One button, and it goes to the FBI, the DEA, the IRS, and your Colombian friends." "You're bluffing." Liam pressed the button. "No, I'm not." Finch's phone immediately started buzzing. Then another phone, the burner he thought no one knew about. His face went white as he read the messages. "You have 1 hour to leave the country," Liam said quietly. "After that, I can't guarantee your safety. The Colombians are very efficient, I'm told." "This isn't over," Finch snarled. "Yes," Liam replied. "It Island. If you ever contact Seraphina or my sons again, if you ever set foot in this country, if you so much as think about them, I will end you. Not financially, not legally. I will end you. And unlike you, I have the resources to make it look like an accident." Finch looked between them, calculating odds, measuring threats. Then, without another word, he turned and left. Within minutes, Liam's security reported that he was heading for his private jet. Seraphina stood frozen, staring at Liam with a mixture of awe and fear. "You destroyed him. I protected what's mine," Liam corrected. "Are we?" she asked. "Yours?" He turned to her, and for the first time in 6 years, his eyes held warmth instead of ice. "Only if you want to be." 3 months later, Luca's surgery was declared a complete success. The boy who had struggled for every breath now ran through Central Park with his brother, their laughter echoing off the trees. Liam watched from a bench, still learning how to be a father, still discovering what it meant to have his heart exist outside his body in the form of 2 5-year-old boys. Seraphina sat beside him, close but not quite touching. They were taking things slowly, rebuilding trust one conversation at a time. The penthouse had become a home, filled with children's artwork and the chaos of family life. The sterile perfection had given way to comfortable disorder. "I owe you an apology," Liam said suddenly, breaking their comfortable silence. "For what?" "For becoming someone you couldn't recognize. For letting bitterness turn me into exactly the kind of man you were trying to protect me from." She considered this. "Maybe you needed to become that man to save us from Finch." "Maybe," he agreed. "But I don't want to stay that man." "Then don't," she said simply. "Choose to be someone else. The man who laughed at my terrible jokes. The one who wanted to change the world. That man was naive. That man was good." She countered. "And these boys need a good man for a father. Not just a powerful one." Leo chose that moment to trip and skin his knee. Without hesitation, Liam was there, scooping up his son, murmuring comfort as he examined the small wound. The billionaire CEO who had destroyed companies without blinking was undone by a child's tears. Seraphina watched them, seeing glimpses of the man she had fallen for that night 6 years ago. He was still there, buried beneath scar tissue and armor, but emerging slowly, carefully, like something learning to live in the light again. That evening, after the boys were asleep, Liam and Seraphina stood on the penthouse balcony. New York glittering below them like a circuit board of dreams and possibilities. "I'm sorry," Liam said, "for not trusting you. For not looking for you. For becoming someone who valued revenge over everything else." "I'm sorry too," she replied. "For not finding a way to tell you. For not trusting that you could handle the truth. For letting fear keep us apart." He turned to her, seeing not the woman who had left, but the woman who had sacrificed everything to protect him and their children. "Where do we go from here?" "Forward," she said. "Together, if you want." "I want," he said immediately. "But I need you to know, I'm not the same man you fell for that night. I'm not the same woman either," she pointed out. "Maybe that's okay. Maybe we need to fall for each other all over again. As the people we are now." He considered this, then held out his hand. "I'm Liam Sterling. Single father of 2, recovering heartless CEO. Currently learning how to feel again." She smiled, taking his hand. "Seraphina Vance. Single mother of 2. Struggling artist. Currently learning how to trust again." "Nice to meet you," he said, pulling her closer. "Nice to meet you too," she replied. They kissed then, not with the desperate passion of 6 years ago, but with something deeper, more solid. It was a kiss built on understanding, on shared struggle, on the knowledge that love wasn't just the butterflies of that first night. Love was choosing each other through fear and anger and pain. Love was protecting each other from the monsters, even when you had become one yourself. 6 months later, the penthouse had been transformed completely. Children's toys, scattered across Persian rugs, finger paintings adorned the Sub-Zero refrigerator, and the sound of laughter had replaced the silence that once defined the space. Liam had stepped back from the day-to-day operations of Nexus Innovations, promoting Elias, and focusing instead on a new venture, a foundation that provided medical care for children with heart conditions whose families couldn't afford treatment. Seraphina had her own studio now, her paintings selling for enough to contribute to their family without needing to depend entirely on Liam's wealth. They were in the kitchen, Liam teaching Leo how to make pancakes while Seraphina helped Luca with a puzzle. When the call came, Dr. Morrison, with final test results. "Luca's heart is perfect," she announced. "Full recovery, no restrictions. He can do anything any other child can do." Seraphina burst into tears, grabbing Luca and holding him tight. Liam abandoned the pancakes, wrapping his arms around all 3 of them, Leo squirming to join the family hug. "Does this mean I can play soccer?" Luca asked, his voice muffled against his mother's shoulder. "You can play anything you want," Liam told him. "Anything at all." That night, after the boys were asleep, Liam and Seraphina sat on the couch, her head on his shoulder, his arm around her. The city hummed beyond the windows, but inside their home, there was peace. "We did it," she said quietly. "We survived." "We did more than survive," Liam corrected. "We won." "What did we win?" "This," he said, gesturing to the transformed penthouse, to the evidence of their children everywhere, to the two of them sitting together without fear or secrets between them. "We won our family." She tilted her head up to look at him. "I love you. Not the memory of you, not the idea of you, but you, exactly as you are now. Even the parts that are still broken," he asked. "Especially those parts," she said. "They match mine." He kissed her then, soft and sure. A promise of all the tomorrows they would face together. Outside, New York continued its relentless pace. But inside their home, time moved differently. It moved at the pace of healing hearts and growing children, of trust rebuilt and love rediscovered. The angry man from the airport was gone, replaced by something harder earned but infinitely more valuable. A father, a partner, a protector who had learned that true strength wasn't in destroying enemies, but in the courage to trust again, to love again, to believe that some things broken could be made whole. Leo and Luca would grow up with both parents, never knowing the full story of their early years until they were old enough to understand. They would know only that their father had fought for them, that their mother had protected them, and that love, real love, sometimes required both sacrifice and forgiveness. Crispin Finch never returned. His empire crumbled within weeks of leaving the country, his partners turning on him with the viciousness he had once wielded against others. Liam kept tabs, not from vengeance but from vigilance, ensuring the threat would never materialize again. But that was the past, and the past, they had learned, was only useful as a teacher, not a master. The future stretched before them, uncertain but unafraid, because they faced it together. In the end, the echo of lies had faded, replaced by the steady rhythm of truth that love persists, that families can be rebuilt, that sometimes the longest journey is the one that brings you home to where you were always meant to be. And in a penthouse high above Manhattan, 4 hearts beat in harmony, no longer broken, no longer afraid, finally whole.